Hello everyone and welcome to today's video.
For today's video, I'm gonna do something really weird that I've never done. Well, it's not really weird, it's just something that I've never done. First of all, I'm recording this video outside, so I apologize for like the super windy sound that you might hear. It's really windy out here, but I'm sitting outside because it's really super nice, and I thought, why not record a video? So I had this idea last night, right before I went to bed, because I was talking about a book on my rating Twitter, and I thought, let's bust some myths about blindness. So here we go. These myths are not particularly my level of blindness, because blindness is a spectrum, but I do have friends who previously had sight and then lost their sight, and we've had some pretty in-depth conversations about the basic differences. Sorry, the sun's in my eyes, so like I keep having to put my hand over. About the basic differences of losing your sight and what that entails. And there are a lot of myths, especially if you are reading books with blind characters in them, and I think that kind of helps contribute to the fear that sighted people have of losing their sight. So let's bust a few of those right now. Okay, the first one is that if you lose your sight, you will eventually not remember what objects, people, shapes, and colors look like. And when I say objects, I also mean animals. I was going to include that one separately, but I failed to do so. And this is not true. You do actually remember what people, objects, animals, shapes, colors, all that sort of thing looks like, even if you lose your sight. And it's because the receptors for your eyes usually are not damaged unless you have something wrong with you that damaged the receptors in your brain, as well as whatever portion of your eyes is damaged. So you can remember what color green is, what the grass looks like in the summertime, what flowers look like, what your kids look like, what your dog looks like. You can remember all of that if you lose your sight tomorrow. Like if you just wake up tomorrow and you don't have any sight, you're still going to remember what those things look like because you saw them the day before. And it's not going to go away just because you lost your sight 10 years ago. Like you're still going to remember what colors look like, what things happened. Like you're still going to have that visual memory of those things. The second myth I want to bust is that if you dream, you cannot see objects, shapes, animals, places, colors, anything like that, especially if you had sight previously. Okay, so this myth is partially true and partially false. It's partially true depending on how much sight you had. So for example, in my dreams, I can see light. Like I can see sunlight, I can see the color yellow, I can see the color bright pink, I can see the color bright blue, because that's what I saw previously, and that's what I see now. And so I can see those things. Someone who was born blind or has never had sight will not see any of those things, and they will just hear sounds. And people who have previously had sight but lost it for whatever reason will hear and see whatever they saw before they lost their sight. So if you saw green grass before you lose your sight, you may possibly see green grass in your dreams. If you saw birds before you lost your sight, and I'm not talking like right before, I'm talking like all the time before you lost your sight. Like if you were able to see grass or birds, you will be able to see grass and birds in your dreams. So, depending on your level of blindness, because blindness is a spectrum, this myth is both true and false. Because you can see large print, you can see light, you can see certain shapes but not others, you can see shadows of objects like me. It just depends on how much sight you had before you are at the level of the sight that you are now. Or if you've always been at this level. Okay, so the next myth, I don't know what number this is, but the next myth is that all blind people have to learn Braille. This is false. In fact, 70% of blind people do not learn Braille. This is due to a variety of reasons, and I'm going to give those reasons without giving my opinions because I'm very opinionated on these reasons. Some of them I don't like, some of them I don't agree with, so I'm just going to give my opinion, or the reasons without giving my opinion. So the first reason is that schools don't generally teach Braille to kids because of the amount of technology available today. There are screen readers such as NVDA, Narrator for Windows, VoiceOver for Mac and iOS. VoiceOver would actually be called a screen access solution, that's what Apple calls it. And there's also magnification software on Windows and iOS devices that you can use. In addition, there's all kinds of apps. There's Be My Eyes. There's all kinds of camera apps that help people take pictures. So schools generally feel like Braille is unnecessary because of the amount of technology that is out there today, so they don't always teach it. And the second reason is that depending on the reason that you lost your sight, you may not be able to feel Braille. So if you lost your sight due to diabetes, for example, because that is the leading cause of losing one's sight, you may not be able to feel Braille because you may not have feelings in your hands and feet due to nerve damage. This would have been my mom's problem. And this is because diabetes will take away the feeling in your hands and feet because it causes nerve damage. So Braille isn't taught for that reason. And the third reason is because Braille and print are two totally different things. So the letters in print look completely different from the letters in Braille. Like, if you don't believe me, you can Google it. The Braille alphabet is Googleable. You can pull it up and you can actually look at it. It looks completely different from print letters. And this could confuse people who have previously read print, and it may be harder or impossible for them to learn Braille because of their previous experience. And the next reason is because blind people choose not to learn Braille. A lot of older blind people feel like it's not necessary to learn Braille, so they just don't. Again, there's technology available, and they make that choice for themselves. And the next myth is that everyone who reads Braille with their fingers. False. A lot of people who read Braille with various other parts. So, sighted people who learn Braille, and yes, there are in fact sighted people who learn Braille. I strongly encourage anyone who is sighted who wants to learn Braille. It's very cool. It's like knowing a language that no one else knows. I used to joke with my cousin that we could pass notes back and forth in class, and nobody'd be able to read them except for like one other person who knew Braille. Don't do that. Actually, you know what? Do that. Why not? Anyway, so sighted people actually read Braille with their eyes, and then there are blind people who read Braille with their lips, or their tongue, or their feet, because they don't have feelings in their hands, or maybe they can't use their hands for whatever reason. So, yeah, not everyone reads Braille with their fingers. Very interesting, right? And also, another myth that I discovered is that everyone who is blind has trouble learning new places. And that is not true. Again, I think that partially depends on the cause of your blindness. So if you actually went to places when you could see, like if you went to certain places, like say you went to a school building and then you lost your sight, you would still be able to find your way around that school building if you knew where everything was when you were sighted. I know that's really weird to say, but I've had tons of friends who are formerly sighted tell me the same thing, and they were like, no, I'm serious. Like, you would still be able to find your way around. Okay? And I have a hard time finding my way around places when I've never been, because I have retinopathy prematurity, and apparently that plays a role in how well I'm able to memorize things. That's a whole other video, but yeah, just so y'all know, like, it depends on what you've seen before and where you've been and all that. Another thing is that blind people stumble around their house because they don't know where anything is. This myth is false. Generally, if it's your own house, unless you are newly blinded, you are going to know where everything is, and I would kind of hope that even if you had sight before that, you would be able to use your visual memory and remember where things were located in your house. Sometimes maybe that's not a thing because maybe you got a traumatic brain injury or something, but in general, you should be able to know where everything is in your house, and if you don't, then you should be using your cane until you know where everything is located in your house. And the last one is that blind people take their canes everywhere, including their house, and they use them in their house, which is true and false at the same time. Because like I just said in the last one, if you know where everything is in your house, you don't need to use your cane, and you won't stumble into anything. Although I say that, and then I stumble into my wall all the time, because I forget there's a wall there. And sighted people in my house do it too, so I'm not the only one. And it's also true because if you don't know where a place is or how it's laid out, then yes, you do need your cane. And especially if it's a work environment and you need to get from point A to point B, like even if you think that you know where everything is, you still need your cane in a work environment. But like in a home where everything is not moved or I don't know, maybe you're one of those people that like to move things, you may or may not need your cane. And the next one is that if you lose your sight, you won't know how to cook. And this is both true and false, and that depends on, did you cook before you lost your sight? How well did you cook before you lost your sight? And the techniques that blind people use to pour things and stir things and flip things over and all of that. So basically, if you lose your sight, you will still have the skill set. Like, you will still know how to cook. You will just have to learn how to use your hands and various pieces of equipment, like liquid level indicators to tell you when to stop pouring hot liquids. And so, yeah, I actually have a friend who lost her sight, and she was telling me at one point that she can cook better now that she is no longer sighted than she could when she was blind. So do with that, or she can cook better now that she lost her sight than she could when she could see, is what I meant to say. So do with that what you will. And with that being said, I hope that you enjoyed today's video. Feel free to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're brand new. Leave a comment if you have an idea, question, suggestion, or if you have any other myths you think I should bust or not bust. Like me on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Odyssey. And I will see y'all tomorrow. Bye, guys. Oh, you can find all those things on my YouTube page below the About section or down in the description. And my email address, which is also in the About section and down in the description, can be found there as well. Okay, now bye, guys. I don't know what I'm doing.